Hello, I'm Jake.
And I'm Alex. Today we are very excited. We're going to be doing an unboxing and initial first impression of Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon by Awaken Realms. Company's done a few other games. Nemesis, Swore Mine comes to mind.
I have a copy of that.
And a Kickstarter for Great Wall coming out, I think, any day now if it's not already out. It's actually my first Kickstarter backing and kicking myself for not going all in on this one. So this is just the core box. This does not include the Monsters of Avalon miniature pack for all the encounter monsters that you can get in the game. So this is simply the core box.
Always buy the minis.
Always buy the minis is right. I'll get that when the pledge manager reopens. But also comes with a surprise box.
Artwork, stunning.
Yeah, so first impression of the box, beautiful artwork, kind of a matte. It's not wrapped, maybe it is, but it's got a nice feel to it. It's a sturdy box. Everything feels like it's solid in there. The box was delivered via FedEx, typical white Awaken Realms box. You know exactly what it is when it gets delivered. Very tight foam core packing in there. There was no shuffling around, so everything should be nice and sturdy inside as well. So we're going to do a unboxing here. We'll open it out. We're going to display everything out on the table. And then we'll kind of go thumb through the cards, look at some of the minis that do come with the core game. And then last but not least, we'll open the surprise box. No idea what's in this. So those that don't want spoilers, we'll do this at the very end. So you can totally avoid it if you want to. But I guess first things first, let's take the box lid off the box here and see what we got working with.
Oh, the side artwork is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so we'll put the...
And we'll get. Oh man, that's sick. We'll get some close-ups on here.
Yeah, so kind of an overview of the game. You know, the theme is very King Arthur Round Table-esque. The story of the game is these Menhirs are required to hold back the darkness from taking over the land. And you start out, you can choose one of, I think, 4 or 5 different characters. Again, we haven't played through yet. We're just going to do the unboxing here, and I'm sure we'll end up doing the tutorial playthrough at some point. We open the box up. We've got the tutorial. This is a quick, I guess, bifold here, front and back. This is to get started. So the key, they say here, a lot of great comments coming about this. You just simply start here. There is a pre-wrapped box of cards meant specifically only for the tutorial. So you don't have to open everything up first. You can just open the tutorial deck. It's already pre-sorted, and you can just start the game and learn the mechanics in a very simple tutorial mission. No spoilers for the rest of the game. Kind of sets the backstory a little bit. So I'm sure that we'll be playing through that at some point.
Yeah, they're good at that. With this War of Mine, they did the same thing. They have the main advanced rule part, and then they have a short intro of how everything kind of works.
Yeah, looks very nice. High quality. Text isn't too small. There's plenty of content on here for us to take a look at. Obviously, we got the thick rule book. Next, 24 pages. Got a rule summary on the back, quick reference, which I really love having that close by. A lot on here to take a look at, obviously. That's the rule book. Looks like we've got the exploration journal here. So this is going to have your key story elements. And it looks like this may be protecting the binding, which is awesome. Really cool that they did that.
So smart.
So we'll take that off to the side here. Holy cow, this thing is thick. Oh, they got like nice burnt edges, which we'll zoom in and show you. So definitely kind of fitting in with a theme here. See if we can get the shrink wrap off. It looks pretty tight.
Note to self on first video filming. Have an eye candy.
Exactly. I think we can get it here.
Yeah, we did do a good job of packing on this. We'll go through this and have some overlay shots that'll allow you to see this a little better.
Wow, nice. Holy smokes. We've got
so this is a campaign-driven, story-driven.
Campaign, story-driven. Trying to see how many pages we got
cards,
here.
Right?
A lot of cards. So very much 7th Continent-esque. With, from what I reading some callbacks even to something like Gloomhaven from a card management and how you deal with combat perspective as well.
So the AI.
So yeah, the AI, and then obviously how you're building a combat deck and utilizing that effectively. Looks like just to get through all the scenarios, you're looking at about 200 pages. And then you've got a plethora of, looks like appendixes and indices here on the end.
I would guess it's similar to some of the other games they've done where you look at a card and it says turn to page,
Yep,
etc.
exactly. Again, nice binding on this. Great job that they protected that. Yeah, it's really,
the pages are
really
solid too.
Really solid. Let's see, we got here, it looks like some handwritten style notes for each of the major characters. So a little bit of backstory to choose from of the 4 main characters you get to start with. And my understanding is each character can kind of do their own thing with the story, and you kind of flesh that out as you go. So that's pretty cool. Looks like some maps here, and again, a lot of this, a lot of exploration involved in this game, and a lot of hunting for clues. So I think the key is this is like the same map, but each player will get one. And it looks like the map of the island that you're on. So some landmarks on here. Again, very Seventh Continent-esque when you're looking at your clue cards. I'm sure there's things we're going to be looking for hints on where to go next. It looks like on here, and we'll zoom in a minute, but you'll see there are some menhirs drawn on here. So obviously that would be key as you're trying to expand outward, that you want to find those menhirs to make sure that you can access those.
What are the menhirs?
My understanding is they're statues, and we should have some minis in here, and we'll take a look in a second. We've got a plethora of save sheets, which is great. All look the same. A lot of statuses on the back, which, again, as you kind of check off things on your journey, you'll mark those statuses, and that changes the way.
Are they bad conditions?
Yes, good and bad, absolutely.
I'm good at stacking the bad stuff.
So a lot of stuff on there, but good. I like a solid save system, so hopefully that's as robust as we want it to be. And then this is kind of the player cards. So each player card.
They're indented too.
They're indented. So they'll hold the tokens in. Again, we'll open these up on the side. So no need to buy trays here. And there's a really cool stopper that you put in for the health, the energy, and the terror to deal with maximums for each of those stats. It's pretty cool how they do it. So we'll take a look at that.
With minis.
There are some minis in here. Yes, there are. So put those here. Some silicone shell, obviously, for your packing needs.
Yep.
And nice plastic indentation on the top to hold your player cards over top of your.
Yeah, it looks like it comes with plenty of bags.
Plenty of bags.
Holding your extras.
And holy cards, Batman. A lot of cards in here.
Yeah, do you want to go through the cards first?
Yeah, so we've got, these are the biggest cards. Looks like we've got our standard reference cards, and then this would be all of your location cards. So my understanding, and there's over 100 of these cards to be splayed out as you explore the island. So a lot there. We've got a dice here, standard hex die. So there's some dice rolling in this game. We've got some mini cards, item cards, and secret cards. So throughout the game, obviously, item cards you may be getting through your encounters. Secret cards, encounters, diplomacy, and the secrets tie into the campaign. So you'll have to identify certain secrets as you're progressing the campaign, and they're going to lead you down the path of winning each scenario. What's cool is, say you're playing with a group of 2, you get the secret cards distributed amongst the 2 of you. They're so vital to the game that if somebody drops in and drops out, you just redistribute the secret cards amongst yourselves. So the secret cards are super important. And yeah, being able to swap in and out, you won't miss anything, or prevents you from coming up short of your goal just simply because someone couldn't make it. So that's a neat mechanic I was reading about. We've got red, purple, and red tokens here. These will be used to delineate your wealth, your food, your experience, your magic, as well as your health, your energy, and your terror. So pretty standard. Looks like.
Now, is there a management system to that, or is that just solely level?
No, there is. Yeah, definitely. So you can only hold, each character can hold a certain amount of food, certain amount of wealth, etc. And then obviously your energy is used throughout your travels. You can become exhausted and only regenerate a certain amount of energy if you get past that point. And managing how much energy you spend is a key component. Traveling in a party or solo is also an option. So if you're playing either solo but playing 2 characters, or obviously 2 to 4 other people, you can complete actions together as a party. And say somebody is out of energy. If Jake had to do an explore action, if I was with him, he was out of energy, but I had the energy to pay, we could do that. You can share energy amongst your team as a party. Obviously, if you are traveling in a party, though, negative effects from encounters affect both of you, so there's obviously a risk there. But then the positive side, if there's an encounter that's incredibly difficult, obviously having 2 people instead of 1 increases your odds of success. That being said, there's a race against the clock because the menhirs are only alive for a certain number of days. And once they go dark, that's obviously, it impacts the... puts pressure on you to continue moving. So splitting up your party sometimes is going to be vital.
And once they go dark, all the cards around that you can no longer explore.
Correct.
So if you miss something important,
yeah, you can reactivate the menhirs, but you have to do all those tasks to reactivate them yet over again, right? So, which is incredibly difficult. And if you're on a square or a map tile when a menhir goes out, you're taking 2 damage and 2 terror automatically. So it's definitely not a good thing to be anywhere near a menhir when it goes out. Ton of cards here. I guess these are the standard size cards that are in the game. We've got, looks like these are encounter cards, which we'll zoom in on. We've got another deck here of encounter cards. Encounter cards will vary in difficulty, I believe from 1 little symbol up top all the way up to 4, depending on how many players are in the game. And that's how difficulty scales. You've got encounters that are combat, and you also have encounters that are diplomacy. So instead of just fighting, sometimes you're going to be engaging in diplomacy with the different settlements you come across with, or different individuals along your path. So building out your combat deck versus your diplomacy deck as you level up is one of the key aspects of effectively having a balanced party. So that's kind of cool. Just looking at some of the artwork on some of these initial cards.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do you know who the artist is that did this?
I do not.
We'll put a thing up in that.
We got revealed locations here, some quest cards. So obviously the quests in this game are how you're going to be completing your chapters in the campaign. But you also have tasks, and tasks are going to be not a requirement. Think of them as side quests. You get them done, you're going to be given some great items, some secrets potentially as well. That'll certainly help you in your journey. Experience is incredibly important, leveling up your attributes, etc. So there's always something to do, is my understanding. Again, we got more, these are diplomacy encounters in this deck. Again, artwork just looks awesome.
I'm loving the artwork.
And
the colors.
Yeah.
Like they work together.
Yep.
Well.
So each character comes with a standard combat deck, a diplomacy deck, and then there's an advancement pool that as they level up, they are able to pull new cards into their deck. And you have to have a minimum of 15 cards. My understanding, there is no maximum. But there's a random aspect of you're drawing cards every combat round. So, card management is key. You may not necessarily want the biggest deck you can get if you're trying to be kind of specific in how your character is built. And working off maybe your counterparts you can be playing with. Combat deck here. Again, the artwork is just phenomenal on these cards.
Yeah, some of these remind me of like this guy's underwater breaking a chain. And it's like, it seems like very...
There's special events and encounters, so kind of like Sword and Sorcery, you're building out kind of an event deck, and you're flipping over an event card every day. So there's some randomness to that, is my understanding, but there's also some fixed things that are going to happen. I'm just looking at this card now. I think it says good weather. Your first travel today costs 1 less. Again, look at the artwork on that. It's just beautiful.
That is sick. Yeah.
And then this is the open and play pack. So this last one here, this is the tutorial pack we referenced earlier. You can just dive into the tutorial by only opening this pack of cards. They're pre-sorted, and you follow along. So I really like that. That's really great, because this is a bit, as you see on the table, it's a bit overwhelming. We got some bags here on the side to store probably our cubes. And it looks, we got many bags in here to store cubes, which is great.
Oh, some cards.
Yep, we've got some dials. These dials are used to put into the menus. So I guess without further ado, why don't you start taking the minis out? You're the mini guy. Why don't you start busting some of those
Well,
out?
I did notice this. This is a tracker for your
Yeah,
table, right?
exactly. Let's see, maybe you can pull out some of those minis, start talking, and I'll try and open this up and show you how that works.
So I guess we'll start with the minnows first. There's 3 of those?
There's 3 of them.
Okay. Wow. That is just amazing. So yeah, I can see the dial. These are going to be awesome to paint. We'll definitely have to zoom in here. The quality is pretty good. They're actually really good on these.
Yeah. So the dials, while I'm fiddling around with that, we'll open up these dials and show you how the dial system works. The dials are essentially your countdown timer for when the menhirs go inactive. And they fit along in the bottom of the actual mini itself. There's a little slot for them. And you simply turn the dial forward as the days progress. One of the feedback or the criticisms I saw initially is it's kind of hard to read the numbers on here, and that is accurate. It is pretty difficult, but I think the way they're built, I've seen some really cool paint jobs on these that can make the numbers stick out a bit more. So again, the menhirs here, you can kind of slide in the counter, and then you spin it. As the days go by, it tells you how many days until it deactivates.
Now, I noticed like one's got his hand chained with holding a candle.
Yep.
One has the sword, and he's holding a cup. This
Yep.
one is holding a sword itself. Does that reference what type of,
I couldn't tell you at this stage. I don't know. This one's super cool because you can see through it, that's really awesome.
Because they all are skeletons.
Yep. Yeah.
Which I think is neat. And now this must be a boss.
I imagine so.
Because he looks pretty nasty.
He does. He does.
And we'll definitely get some close-ups in here. Because it's all about the minis.
Yeah, and then
Unless you don't buy the mini.
Unless you forget, or don't forget, you just opt not to. I'm gonna get it. So these minis, pretty good detail. It looks like on these. I mean, this guy, his robe has got just some great texturing to it. I mean, you could do some really awesome things with a wash here. The hair on this one is great.
And I like the statue style models because it's not that I hate painting eyes, it's just very tedious. But when the eyes are sunken in, when these models have the eyes sunken in, let me see that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Same thing. Not so much on her. The mold lines are pretty light, if any. There's a heavy one on her. I love. Is she skinning a cat or something?
Yeah, it looks like it.
But when the eyes are sunken in, it automatically kind of like, especially if you're just a quick painter or not very good at painting,
yeah,
it kind of gives that impression of their eyes having a look without having to actually paint them in.
Look at the robe quality on that one.
Yeah, so like now, if you're new to painting, contrast paints, that new line that GW put out, not GW, Games Workshop. They're Citadel paints.
Yeah.
Yeah, they brought a line out, contrast paints. You just you paint it on. It works great with texture. It works horrible with flat surfaces. Something like this, contrast paints, you could end up with something with no skill and end up with something that looks really awesome.
It's great.
All right, so I guess we'll break open the cards.
Yeah.
And we'll pause for a second, and then we'll come back. So I'll show off some of this artwork, the minis, and go through some of the cards.
Perfect. So zooming in here on the setup card, this is for the character Maggot. Two-sided card here. Again, this is a kind of grooved out card, which is great. So there's no bumping you need to really worry about here, but you've got your starting attributes up top, right? So for instance, Maggot is more aggressive than empathic. So he starts out with 1 level in aggression. He starts out with a level in courage, a level in caution. So he's courageous and a little bit cautious. And he's got high spirituality, but no practicality. You're going to use your experience points throughout the game. You can level up these attributes. After level 2, starting at level 3, you end up getting skills based on these particular attributes to kind of tap into throughout your combat. It also gives you your starting resources, right? So he would get 2 food and 2 magic to be used at the start of the game. Once you set that up, you can flip this, pop it out, flip it over, and push it in. And this gives you his ability, which is meditation. You can spend 2 energy and gain 1 magic to a max of 4. And he's a recovering addict, so whenever he's dreaming, he has to toss a dial. If you get a skull, you have a nightmare instead, and obviously nightmares are not good. When it says toss a dial, it's simply one of these dials you would use as a countdown for the menhirs or some of your abilities, and you just toss it. One side has a grail, one side has a skull. In this case, I got the grail. I wouldn't be having a nightmare. Your key stats are energy, health, and terror. Again, we kind of mentioned this earlier, but this item kind of sets you up with a maximum number based on what your health is. So as this moves up and down, your maximum changes for terror and energy. Anytime you can go below your energy level of 1 or 0, you become exhausted. And as your terror increases, you start to go insane, which obviously has different effects throughout the game. Looking at some of the cards, we opened up these packs here, just some really great artwork. Just thumbing through a couple of cards here. Really fitting the theme well. Dark, not many solid lines, a little blurry. Really cool that they got the artwork going, expanding through all the borders on the card, or rather to the edge of the card there is no border, which really adds to this kind of the size of the card.
Now, is this an enemy character that you're looking at?
So these are all combat cards. So this would be an actual ability that you would be using in combat.
So which would cost you a red die.
Yeah, so how it works, it's kind of a chaining combat system. So you're going to have 3 cards, and you have an encounter. For instance, the Sunworm here. And to start off the encounter, you would look for any item that has, and actually start off, I believe it's free.
The size of the worm.
Yeah, it's massive. Just massive. You can see each of the attributes has its own kind of symbol, right? So certain connectors here would require you to have 2 points of aggression, right, in order to play. And I can just thumb through and see if I find any.
Oh, that would add 1 aggression to a card that add like an ability card.
Yeah, I think the first combat card you play is always free, right? You don't have to necessarily match it to anything, but if you're going to use a heroic sword, you would need to link it with something else. If you have 2 of aggression, which he doesn't, but if you did, you could play Enrage next, and that's the number of red cubes, and the number of red cubes needed to kill him or to win the fight is 30, right? So this is obviously a very difficult enemy. And then the enemy starts their combat round. Depending on the number of cubes on the enemy is the action that they will do. And it generally gets worse the more cubes they have to kind of escalate the fight and add that level of danger. So again, card management is key, making sure you can chain multiple cards to do as much, generate as much cubes in a combat round as possible. We haven't really looked at the big cards yet, so these are the largest cards here. These are the location cards. Obviously, these are quick reference cards. I like it they're on the large size, obviously, and easy to read. Lays out the action overview on each day. We've also got an icon glossary here, which is important, kind of like Seventh Continent, where there's a ton of action and different icons. Not quite as overload as I've seen yet in this game, but still some things for quick reference that you want to keep an eye on. Drawing a card, discarding a card in combat, things of that nature. Some key terms on there as well. You've got, after that, again, very similar to Seventh Continent, you've got the overlay of the land that you're on. I like that the cards are bigger than what you would normally see in Seventh Continent.
Oh, yeah.
For instance, this is the first city of Kuanacht. And if we bring in our map that's included with each character, We see Kuanacht is down here. So we've got a frame of reference of where it is on the island. And as we're exploring to look for more menhirs, we can kind of reference that map. Again, we've got arrows on the corners of the card, very similar to Seventh Continent. You would play those out, and in your exploration, you can use action and energy rather on a particular card to do something. For instance, in Kuanacht here, use 1 energy. You can do chores for the townsfolk, which gains you 1 reputation, and reputation can be key to advancing in quests and in diplomacy as well, from my understanding. So, backside. Once you explore an area, it lays out what you found, and will reference or have you reference the large exploration journal depending on what is happening in the story. So again, there's a lot of these cards, a lot of places to explore, a very robust campaign, which is exciting. Some of your thoughts on the cards so far, Jake?
No, we've discussed this diplomacy for a bit. So we can look at some of these cards, and you can explain them to me.
Yeah, so very similar to combat as well. You'll have diplomacy. These, it looks like, are some of them are the character specific abilities, and then some of these look to be more applicable to any character. So each character will have varying tools in their tool belt, both from a combat perspective and from a diplomacy perspective.
Again, the artwork.
Yeah,
amazing. Love it.
Some of the, I believe the blue cards, if I'm not mistaken, are some of the diplomacy cards, diplomacy encounters. So, a feast to die for. You have to sustain his attention, impress him, or have dangerous questions. So there's different things you can choose to try and accomplish.
And what was the front of that deck? That's the...
This is the blue encounter deck. And when I say blue, we've got 4 separate types of encounters here. And they're kind of laid out with a colored marking on the corner. So you can set them up and draw from the appropriate deck very easily, which is nice. All the cards are also numbered, as we mentioned, or at least the ability cards and combat and diplomacy cards are on the bottom, 17 out of 25B. So you can sort those in order, making your advancement of your character, if you're choosing to add new cards to your combat or diplomacy deck, a little easier to manage and doing that. Speaking of which, we got the advancement pool here, and I believe this is the card deck that you are choosing from as you level your characters up. So some of these are, again, character specific, like I'm probably butchering this, but Aile, which is one of the characters. We've got an Arab skill there. But again, this artwork is just phenomenal.
And I think the campaign, the promo they did was with this specific guy,
Bior, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what. If you've seen any the prologue plays or promo plays, they use that specific character in the promo, I believe.
Yeah. Maybe
what about item cards?
Oh yeah, so we've got some smaller cards here. We've got item cards. You're only allowed to carry one particular type, or you can carry multiple, but only activate one at a time. So, for instance, one weapon, one armor, one relic, etc. So you'll be able to tap into these items and use them in combat. For instance, this is let me put this down so you might be able to see it a little easier. Wicker Shield. You can discard this item to prevent 2 damage from an attack or a response. So again, it's a Wicker Shield. It's pretty weak. So this is a one-time use item. Yeah. I'm going to hold it up to block this attack, and it's going to get destroyed in the process. I'm sure there's some more hefty items that will provide you a bit more.
Yes, I saw some pretty cool ones.
Nice companion item here, like a horse, right? Each day, your first 2 travels cost 1 less energy, which is important, obviously. So a lot of great things. A pretty substantive deck here. Seems to be a lot of variability. And then I believe the secret cards, which we won't flip over for spoilers. But the secret cards here, same size. They're numbered on the back, again, so you can reference that. It'll tell you in the exploration journal which card I believe you're going to be taking from that deck.
And then the weather cards we hadn't gone through.
I hadn't looked at those yet.
And then I believe there's something completely different at the bottom there.
Yeah, so here's your chapter 1 setup. So these look to be your chapter setup cards. Again, makes sense here. What were you laying out? Chapter 11, 13, 14, 15 chapters. Pretty extensive.
It looks like we got mist, rainfall, good weather, violent thunderstorms.
Yeah, so these are all random events, and you'll be drawing random events.
I remember the moons having an effect, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so it's like a full moon. Whenever you draw a purple encounter, draw 2 and pick one with the highest value. Whenever you would draw a random green or gray encounter, draw a purple encounter instead. So full moon doesn't necessarily seem to be a great thing. Blood moon, each time you resolve a gray or green or purple encounter, receive 1 additional unavoidable damage for each enemy attack. So also not a good thing.
Yeah.
So, and look at that artwork.
Yeah, I love it.
Beautiful cards. Obviously, a lot more that we could show you and really flipping through the cards, but I think we've covered each of the different types of cards. I don't think we looked at the save sheet in detail here. But again, you've got each character's board that you can write on. So obviously for saving your progress, any player notes, which I understand are incredibly important as you're reading through a lot of the story and exploring the area. It's a lot of clues to drive you on how to get through that chapter. So
is there like some type of like a puzzle almost, like you need to figure out like clues and...
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to activate as many menhirs as possible to make sure the darkness doesn't swallow everybody up. So in order to find these menhirs, they're scattered across the land, and you're going to have to follow clues in order to get there.
So speaking of them,
yes,
we might as well bring them out.
Let's do it. Maybe we'll put them on. You think the white would look better for contrast?
Definitely. Yeah, just epic looking minis here. Well, this is probably at least, I would say 60 millimeters. This is the dial he was talking about. You can probably see that it's really hard to see the numbers in there unless they're painted. He said there was a blue and a gold one that somebody had painted the gold numbers.
Yeah, I saw a picture of one of those, like a royal blue background and a gold numbers. It popped really nicely.
But they're just all around well detailed miniatures. They did a great job on them. So we'll just, this one seems to be my favorite. Though I do like this cat here.
Yeah, he's got the big massive sight.
Yeah. Well, he looks like he's been, plowing fields and stuff his whole life, so he'd have the build for it. But anyway, let's get on to, let's see. We
haven't really shown any of the booklets.
Yeah, let's do the books. Yeah.
Let's move some of this out here. For sake of spoilers, we'll just flip to maybe the first or second page. Let me just take a peek at it so you can see. But so here's the cover, obviously well bounded. Exploration journal. I like the kind of faux burnt edges, which is kind of nice. Some general overview. It looks like some sketch artwork in here as well. And then you kind of dive into the first couple chapters. So we'll skip going through that for spoiler purposes.
And then this was the...
Yeah, tutorial. Start here. Again, 3 columns of text. It looks pretty small, but readable. Seems to lay it out pretty well here. We'll probably dive into this maybe tonight.
I mean, it definitely shows. I would almost say the instructions are a little clearer just from looking at the pictures.
I agree.
Than some of the other games I've played.
I agree. And then the rule book.
The rule book itself.
Yep. So a little thicker here. Again, the back has a rule summary. Obviously, you've got your cards that you can use to reference this information as well, but sometimes maybe it's easier just to pull out the rule book and flip it over. Who knows? We'll see how we go throughout the game. Again, 3 columns. Good artwork sketches throughout. Kind of breaks up the text a little bit.
I wonder if that was like development art.
Could be, yeah.
They were,
That concept art for sure. I've kind of thumbed through this a little bit. It seems pretty clear to me. We haven't played any playthroughs yet, but I was able to follow along, and it all seemed to make sense here. We'll see when we actually get in.
We'll see how many. You guys can correct us on how many rules we get wrong.
Yes, please do. We would expect you to. A couple different alternative modes. You can just play a story mode. I have been reading a lot of this game is incredibly challenging. It's not easy. So there is a story mode if you're really struggling and you just kind of want to get through the campaign and experience the story. And then if you want to obviously make it harder, there's a challenge mode as you would see in most games. So I love Index. Makes me happy to see these in a book.
Oh God, we were just talking about a game that had no index, no glossary.
Yep. So running into anything we don't understand, a word or a phrase, it's all here and directs us to the right page. So that's thumbs up in my book for sure. And I think that about does it. We're gonna probably flip over.
To show off.
Oh yeah.
This. I mean, hopefully it's not too messed up, but just the artwork on the cover here, and then on the. I know that's boring. Looking at black there, I can let you look at that guy while I get this off. Because even the sides of the boxes had some great artwork. Well, never mind. I'm just gonna leave that be and let you guys look at the video. What were you saying?
I think we're gonna open up the. We'll probably pop open the surprise box.
Surprise box. Yeah.
Maybe we'll just do it now. Maybe. Or should we reset it up?
Yeah. Let's see the back of it.
Yeah.
I've only seen the front of it. I mean, we can take a look at the front. But
so here's the front. This comes in, obviously, the core box. So core backers would get this, and then anybody who went all in would obviously get this as well. So I don't know what's in here. They haven't said. So we'll open it up.
Stop watching now if you don't want to see what's in here.
I'm going to flip it over first, and so we can take a look. It looks like it is an advertisement. ISS Vanguard could be one of their stories or new games coming out. Not sure. Kind of looks Nemesis-esque almost.
Yeah,
maybe it's tying into that.
Update or an expansion.
Could be. Okay, so now we're going to open this surprise box. So if you do not want to know what's in here, this is your time to turn it off. I'm going to pull it off the camera real quick. There's some tape.
There's
Exacto over here. Don't knock that. Okay. Pop this open. A couple goodies in here. Let's see what we got.
Uh-oh. Sealed envelope.
Something sealed. Not open.
Ooh.
Let's put that aside for now. Let's see what else we got. Ooh, an almanac of Avalon. Oh, wow. So it looks like some artwork and some quotations. You got Camelot, the Forest of Whispers.
The map here goes into even more detail than correct.
Yep.
Nice.
Wow. Again, looks like a lot of concept art here. You got a lot of sketches. Animals, armory.
That'll help really bring to life the whole area you're in too.
Yeah, talk about theme, right? Yeah. This is huge, the dangers in the wilderness. So we've got what the heck was that? Hold on. No. That's a whole lot of no right there.
He's eating somebody's arm. That is just that's.
And here's a quote for it. I saw many bad things in my life, but the worst was a shadowy figure feeding a baby with a dead warrior's flesh. Whew. Yeah. Oh boy, it's dark times. Dark times here in Avalon.
I'm ready for it though.
I'm ready for it too. That's a scary looking bear. Wow, that's really cool. I like that a lot. And then it looks like this may be an art book for, again, the ISS Vanguard. Maybe this is
maybe a new game.
New game or a comic. I don't know. Maybe we'll crack that open in a minute.
I don't know. Should that has like a Gloomhaven seal on it?
It does. Very Gloomhaven-esque.
I'm almost wondering if that like goes to. It's a
letter to the backers. and a thank you from Marcin, and I'm sure I'm saying this wrong. Chris, maybe it's just Christoph, who's the game author, and then Marcin, who's the CEO of Awaken Realms. And by the way, they're particularly Marcin's engagement with the community has been top notch. If you're not part of the Facebook group for this game and you're interested at all in it, I really suggest you join the official Facebook group. Marcin is posting there all the time, and becoming a really active part. Important notes again. They're being
this is great.
Missing elements
pieces, and he bent or broken. Not that I've ever really come across that.
Mm-hmm.
There was one in Kingdom Death that I had broken, and it was horrible. I still have the broken one. They still haven't replaced it. It's been 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so this is cool that they have that, but not that it looks like we have anything missing.
Yeah,
I mean, we have a lot to go through.
It's a lot of stuff to sort through, but everything looks good on my end.
And thank you, Awaken Realms, because this has certainly been exciting, and certainly ready to dive into it.
Yeah, 700 cards, 100,000 words of story, and 1,000 unique arts in the core box only. What a great deal this is. And then just looking here, it says the ISS Vanguard art book is an art book filled with the amazing art for our next major board game that will be going live sometime in 2020. So more to look forward to here. How great. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, thanks everyone
Thanks
for watching. And you may hear from us and see us again soon as we'll do a playthrough or some initial impressions.
Yeah, we want to do an impression of maybe Shadows of Brimstone, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Where's our next project?
Yep.
And then we have some more. You have a bunch more Kickstarter stuff coming in.
Yes, I do.
I have some stuff coming in. So we'll see you soon. Thanks
Please
for watching.
like and subscribe, and we will see you again soon.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if we should have done